Okay, guys, we have some new polling here that we wanted to bring to you about Biden's position in the Democratic Party, which is really quite stunning. Let's go ahead and put the CNN poll up on the screen. 75% of Democrats want someone other than Biden in 2024. Let me say that again. 3/4 of Democratic voters want someone other than Joe Biden. I mean, this is really fairly unprecedented in terms of within your own party. The incumbent president and your own party is saying, it's time to step aside. Like, thank you for your service. We got to move forward. Here's a little bit of the details here. That they say in terms of reasons why Democrats want to move on from Biden, 24% say they want someone else because they don't think he can win. That's up from 18% poll conducted in January. 32% feel that way because they don't want Biden to be reelected. That was actually the largest number in terms of, what they were giving as their reason. So 32% are just like, we don't want him again. And that is up from 16%, so a significant jump there. And then 25% said they prefer Biden as the nominee. Back in January, February, that was 45%. So already, I think we covered that poll back then because it was a bare majority and we're like, holy cow, that's a lot of Democratic voters who are like, we want something else. Now it's up to 75%. Voters' top decision criteria right now is the way things are in the country. That's in terms of the midterms. And obviously, Democrats are the party in power, so not a good sign for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, the vast majority of the American people, and now a vast majority of the people in the Democratic Party don't want him to run again. And yet, he's probably the only viable one. And look also at CBS. Let's go ahead and put this on the screen. These are the battleground polls as we head into the midterm elections. People are voting for Congress based on, the way things are in the country.
Makes
60%
sense, right?
what Democrats might do, which they have generally intuited is nothing. 63% what Republicans might do, and 54% on feelings about a particular candidate. I think you can intuit from that this isn't about Biden per se. People gave him a chance. Yeah, many people think he's too old, all of that aside. But if he was old and he was doing something, a lot of people would say, okay, that's fine. But the way that things are in the country, at a very basic moment, they're just saying, this is terrible for me. And just overwhelmingly, you are watching this you're watching this destroy Biden's presidency and get it to a point where he is Jimmy Carter level unpopular. And, the interesting thing is you can turn that around. It is true that also back in the 1980s, many people at this point in Ronald Reagan's presidency apparently didn't want him to run again in 1984. But there was actually a brutal recession in 1982. However, climbed out of it. Policy aside, whatever, he was able to project an image to the American people, which led to the overwhelming victory in 1984. So it's not like that can't happen. Also, roles reversed. George W. Bush, H.W. Bush had like a 90-something% approval rating at this point in his presidency, and he ended up losing in 1992. So lots can change in the interim period. And while they might be intuiting a little bit of that in terms of the CHIPS Act and this Manchin-Schumer bill, at its core, they're not doing anything about inflation, about gas, about food, and really projecting the confidence that people need to say, this guy is actually on top of this, is working on my behalf. And that's really what it comes down to for most people. Even in terms of Roe versus Wade, individual issues like that, yes, on the margins appears to have been better for Democrats, but those margins just are not going to be able to overcome the general feeling of malaise, of chaos that we talk about in the airlines, of supply chain. It's just the general feeling that nothing works in the U.S. economy, and people blame their president, and I think they should. I just don't think it's a way of looking at it.
One of the things I'm going to be talking about in my monologue is Biden at this point very clearly is an albatross around the neck of midterm Democrats who are actually really outperforming him at this point. And I think the fact that he has lost that sense of, this is the guy who's electable. We have to go with Joe because that's the way we're going to be able to win elections. That to me has been the most devastating blow for him ultimately, because that's the whole reason he got elected.
Yeah.
I mean, people were not here for the Biden agenda. There were not Biden stands. They weren't, he didn't have this hardcore fan base or really any sort of particular vision for what direction he wanted to take the country in. Democrats chose him because they were told he was electable. Now that you have them looking at his approval ratings and saying, I don't know if this is going to be the guy who's going to be able to best the Republicans next time around, he's in really dire straits. I mean, his approval rating is underwater, I think, in all but 6 states in the country.
Yep.
Like, that's really, really insane. So the fact that you have his numbers so poor and people so dissatisfied with the direction of the government, listen, this poll was taken before CHIPS Act and before this new mansion, maybe it'll move the needle a little bit.
So.
Color me skeptical. And it is a pretty extraordinary circumstance that I just can't get around the fact or past the fact that you have 2 guys in Biden and Trump that most of the country is like, please not these guys, and is very likely that that's what you end up with next time around, in spite of the fact that so many people are desperate for another direction, someone else, anyone else, and yet because of the structure of the party system and how little actual democracy happens in the country, you're likely to end up with a matchup, again, between 2 people that really no one ultimately wants. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.